Good part of the day, dear students. Today's topic is political system of Great Britain and Uzbekistan. Which system of government? Britain is a constitutional monarchy. That means it's a country governed by a king or a queen who accepts the advice of a parliament. It's also a parliamentary democracy. That is, it's a country whose government is controlled by a parliament which has been elected by the people, by population of the country. The highest positions in the government are filled by the members of the directly elected parliament. In Britain, as in many European countries, official head of state was a monarch, like as in Belgium, Netherlands, or Denmark, or president, like in Germany, Greece, Italy, has little power. The British Parliament is divided into two houses. The first one, which is less important, the House of Lords. It can be described as politically conservative. It consists of different groups. There are the Lords Spiritual, those are archbishops and bishops, furthermore the Lords Temporal. These are hereditary peers. Hereditary peers means that when these peers die, their control can directly go to their children, which got their titles from their fathers or grandfathers, and little peers which got their titles for their whole life. And finally, there are the Lords of Appeal, which are the High Court judges. The Lords' main functions are to examine and discuss the bills introduced in the House of Commons. They can also delay the legislation for a year, but they cannot stop those bills, which are mostly unimportant and non-controversial. They must approve a bill before it becomes an act. The power of the Lords has decreased dramatically. There was even a strong movement to abolish the House of Lords completely. The second house is House of Commons. The 651 members of parliament, MPs, who sit in the Commons are elected representatives of the British people. Each MP, member of parliament, represents one of the 651 constitutions into which the United Kingdom is divided. The House of Commons has a maximum term of 5 years, at the end of which a general election must be held. However, general election can be called in the government at any time. Members of parliament MPs sit on parallel rows of seats known as benches, with those who support the government on the one side and the opposition on the other. Important persons are front benchers, holding it. The less important ones are backbenchers. The Commons' main functions are to define, pass the laws and regulations governing the United Kingdom, examine closely all the activities of the government. The most powerful person is the Prime Minister, Premier Minister. He is the leader of his party. He is the head of the government. He has a seat in the House of Commons. He chooses cabinet ministers who are foreign, home, defense secretary and chancellor of the executive. He recommends a number of appointments to the monarch. The cabinet takes decisions about new policies, implementations of existing policies, and running of the various government departments. The most popular prime ministers are Winston Churchill, Margaret Thatcher, John Major, and Tony Blair. Boris Johnson became Prime Minister on 24th of July 2019. He was previously Foreign Secretary from 13th of July 2016 to 9th July 2018. He was elected Conservative Member of Parliament for Uxbridge and South Ruislip in May 2015. Previously, he was a Member of Parliament for Henry from June 2001 and to June 2008. So, mistake. Then, monarch. For the evidence of written law only, the Queen has almost absolute power, and it all seems very undemocratic. She is the head of state, the head of the Church of England, the head of the armed forces. Every autumn at the state opening of Parliament, Elizabeth II makes a speech. In it, she says what my government intends to do in the coming year. Sorry for one more mistake. And indeed, it's her government, not the people's. As far as the law is concerned, she can choose anybody she likes to run the government for her. The same is true for her choices of people to fill some 100 other ministerial positions. And if she gets fed up with her ministers, she can just dismiss them. Officially speaking, they are all servants of the crown. Furthermore, nothing the parliament has decided can become law until she has agreed to it. There is also a principle of English law that the monarch can do nothing that's legally wrong. But these facts are only written law. In reality, it's very different. But these facts are only written. In reality, it's very different. Of course, she can't choose anyone she likes to be prime minister, but she has to choose someone who has the support of the majority of MP, members of parliament, and the House of Commons, because her government can only collect taxes with the agreement of the Commons. So if she didn't not choose such a person, the government would stop function. With Parliament, it's the same story. Prime Minister will talk about requesting a dissolution of Parliament when he or she wants to hold an election, but it would normally be impossible for the monarch to refuse this request. So, in reality, the Queen cannot actually stop the government going ahead with any of its politics. Important roles of the monarch are the following ones. It's argued that the monarch could act as a final check on a government that was becoming dictatorial. Second, the monarch has to play a very practical role as being a figurehead and representing the country. Sovereign, the Queen wins, but doesn't rule. It means that kraliçe davlatni boshi bo'lib turadi, lekin boshqara olmaydi. So, slide 8. Britain is normally, Britain is normally described as having a two-party system. This is because since 1945, one of the big parties has by itself controlled the government, and the members of these two parties have occupied more than 90% of all the seats in the House of Commons. One of the two big parties is the Conservative Party, also known as the Tories, which is right of center and standing for hierarchical interference in the economy. They would like to reduce income tax. They give a high priority to national defense, internal law and order. A famous Tory is John Major, the former prime minister. Second big party is the Labour Party, which is left of center and stands for equality. For the social weaker people, for more government involvement in the economical issues. اقتصادي مسألة حكومتنا كبر aralashuvini ijtimoiy toifasida zaif bo'lganda tenglik uchun kurashadigan bu partiya hisoblanadi. Involvement, sorry. Another smaller party is Liberal Democratic Party. It was formed from a union of liberals and social democrats, a breakaway group of Labour politicians. It's regarded to be slightly left on center and has always been strongly in favor with the European Union. Европа İttifakı bilen güçlü hamkorlik hisoblangan Liberal Demokratik Partiya, Liberal va Sotsial Demokratik Partiyasi birlashmasidan kelib chiqqan. In countries like England, which have a two-party system, there is often a so-called shadow cabinet. This is a group of politicians which would become ministers if their party was in government. The speakers of the main opposition party. Situation in Scotland. On May 16, 1999, Scottish people voted for the first Scottish Parliament since 1707, when Scottish and English parliaments were united. Scottish and English parliaments are united. Sorry. There was a Scottish movement who wanted devolution, especially when the Tories didn't repress the Scottish wishes, needs. Tony Blair's landslide victory in 1997 gave new hope before the first parliament was finally perfect. Since then, there is a proportional election in Scotland, just like the one we have in Germany. Now, there is a host of parties in parliament. The coalition consists of Labour and the Liberal Democrats. Parliament now can pass laws on education, health, culture, environment, and agriculture. Thus, in Northern Ireland, where Mr. Tribal is in charge of the whole government and Jerry Adams is a minister, also have a parliament now. But they don't have as much rights as the Scots do. At last, you can say it could happen that Britain one day gets federalistic. How the British political system works in general. British politics can seem very confusing. There are lots of different political parties, branches of government. Even though we have a monarchy, they are also democracy. We have put together this handy guide to answer some common questions about the British political system. For example, the first question, is the Queen in charge of the UK? Is the Queen the head of the UK? The United Kingdom is a parliamentary democracy and the constitutional monarchy. This means that while a monarch, in this case Queen Elizabeth II, is the head of state, she's not the head of the government. She doesn't get to make most of the decisions about how the government is run. That job belongs to the Prime Minister. The English monarchy used to have absolute power, but that was a long time ago, over 800 years in fact. 2015 was the 800th anniversary of the Magna Carta, of the Great Charter. This document spelled out the rights and responsibilities of King John of England and the ruling class in 1250. Magna Carta is regarded as the first statement of citizen rights in the world. Bill of Rights of 1689, which is still in effect, lays down limits on the powers of the crown and sets out rights of parliament and rules for freedom of speech in parliament, a requirement for regular elections to parliament, the right to petition and the monarch without fear of retribution. Nowadays, Queen's role is mostly ceremonial. Do England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland each have their own governments? Yes and no. Why? England is the most powerful country of the four, and the British government works for the Queen, who is an English monarch. Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland are all ultimately beholden to English law. However, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland all have governing bodies that work exclusively on issues in their own countries. Scotland is the most politically independent country. The Scottish National Party, SNP, had 56 seats in the House of Commons, and Scottish government is responsible for running day-to-day matters in Scotland, such as education, transport, health. Wales has the Welsh government and the National Assembly for Wales, which are in charge of things like making laws for railways and agreeing Welsh taxes. At the moment, Northern Ireland doesn't have a sitting government, but Northern Ireland does have the Northern Ireland Executive and Assembly, which has powers closer to those already devolved to Scotland. Who makes laws in the United Kingdom? The United Kingdom's government has three basic types of power: legislative, executive, judiciary. Legislative power is power to make new laws, remove old ones. This power is held by Parliament, which is made up of the House of Lords and House of Commons. The Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Assembly, Northern Irish Assembly also have legislative powers. However, they don't have as much authority as Parliament. Executive power. Legislative power, kanun çıkarmış güç. Executive power, icra kılıcı. The power to implement and force laws, demek kanunların icrasını teminat veriyor güç, is controlled by the British government, which works on behalf of the Queen, kraliçe namında işlediğen Britanya hükümet tomonidan nazarət qılınады, as well as the devolved governments of Scotland, Wales, and the Northern Ireland Executive. Judiciary power, yuridik, yani sud, which is the power to prosecute those who break the law, is kept independent of the legislature and executive. The highest court in the United Kingdom is Supreme Court of the United Kingdom. Demek en âli sud bu, âli sud, Birleşmiş Krallık'ın en âli sudu hesaplanır. En sudlu, âli derecesi, yukarı derecesi. What are the different political parties and how are their members elected? People vote in elections for members of parliament and MPs to represent them. Parties that get the most seats in parliament form the government. For example, right now the Conservative has the most seats in parliament. So the United Kingdom is a conservative government. In the next election, Labour wins more seats. We will have Labour government. They will have. There are lots of political parties in the United Kingdom, and the biggest ones are Conservative Party, currently led by Boris Johnson tomonidan boshqariladigan Conservative Party. Conservatives are right-wing or conservative. They typically believe that business shouldn't be regulated and that we should all look after ourselves. Konservativ partiya bu o'ng qanot hisoblanadi va ular odatiy jihatdan ishonadilar, o'ylaydilarki business shouldn't be regulated. We should all look after o'zlarimiz ta'minlashimiz kerak, business boshqarmasligi kerak bizani. Labour Party, mehnat, led by Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn tomonidan boshqariladigan bir mehnat partiyasi. Liberal left wing bu chap qanot hisoblanadi, o liberal partiya hisoblanadi. People who are left wing believe that they should support those who cannot support themselves. Bu partiya ishonadilarki davlat ta'minlab berish kerak, o'zlarini ta'minlab bilmaydigan xalqni, odamlarni. Ideas like the redistribution of wealth, NHS, and job seekers allowance are fundamental left-wing ideas. Liberal Democrats, currently led by Liberal Democratic Party, bu Joe Swinson tomonidan rahbarlik qilinadi. Liberal Democrats they are called fall between the Conservative and Labour. Even though they have liberal in their name, they are really mix of liberal and conservative. Liberal Democratic Party, Conservative va Labour mehnat partiyasini aralashmasi hisoblanadi ekan. Ular nomida o'zida liberal so'zi bo'lsa ham, ular liberal va konservativni aralashmasi. Scottish National Party, currently led by Nicola Sturgeon. Nicola Sturgeon tomonidan rahbarlik qilgan Scotland Milliy partiyasi. SNP is a left wing, and Scotland is politically speaking more liberal than England. Who can vote in the United Kingdom? Members of the United Kingdom are elected in general elections, which typically take place every 5 years. To vote in a general election, you must be registered to vote, 18 or over on the day of the election, polling day, a British, Irish, or qualifying Commonwealth citizen, resident at an address in the United Kingdom, or a British citizen living abroad who has been registered to vote in the United Kingdom in the last 15 years. Eligible to vote, you cannot be legally excluded from voting. How does the voting system in the United Kingdom work? United Kingdom voting system operates on a majority vote system. Political parties that win the most votes win the election. For a political party in the United Kingdom to form a government, they need overall majority. If the winning party doesn't have an overall majority, then there is a hung parliament. If this happens, one large party will join up with a smaller party to form a coalition. By doing this, they exclude the main opposition and still have power. Also, it's now shared between the two coalition parties. Political system of Uzbekistan. On August 31st, 1991, Islam Karimov, the president of the Uzbek Socialist Republic, declared the national independence of the Republic of Uzbekistan. On December 29, 1981, Islam Karimov was elected as the president of the Republic of Uzbekistan in the nationwide general elections. The Constitution of the Republic of Uzbekistan was adopted on January 8, 1992, as the main laws of the country. On January, not here's mistake, sorry, December. So, current political leaders. After the death of the first president of Uzbekistan, Islam Karimov, in 2016, from a sudden disease, Uzbekistan has been run by second president Shavkat Mirziyoyev. He won election that was held in 2016, and she has been president since 8 December 2016. Prime Minister Abdullah Aripov, and she has been doing his formal job since 14th of December 2016. Next election dates for presidential election 2021, for Senate 2020, Legislative Chamber December 2024. Government. Uzbekistan sovereign democratic republic. All citizens of Uzbekistan our age 18 have the right to vote. The state power system includes the legislative, executive, and judicial powers. Legislative powers. Oli Majlis, Parliament of the Republic of Uzbekistan, which performs the legislative activities, is the supreme state representative body. Oli Davlat organ. Bu Oli Majlis consists of two chambers. Oli Majlis ikkita palatada. Qonun chiqaruvchi lower house and upper house. Quyi va yuqori palatada. Legislative chamber, demak qonun chiqaruvchi bir lower house, quyi palata va senat upper house va qonunlarni ko'rib chiquvchi Oliy Majlis senat yuqori palata. The term of authority for elected officials to the Oliy Majlis is 5 years. Oliy Majlisga saylangan deputatlar muddati 5 yil. The order of preparing and holding of elections for the Oliy Majlis is determined by the law of the Republic of Uzbekistan and other legislative acts of the country adopted in connection therewith. Current parties. Also, Gidarumsdagi party, a movement of entrepreneurs and business people, Liberal Democratic Party, Uzbekistan Liberal Democratic Party, focused on first business and farming, maintaining traditional values, National Revival Party of Uzbekistan, Uzbekistan Milliy Tiklanish Partiyasi, People's Democratic Party of Uzbekistan, the party of the former Communist Party, Social Democratic Party of Uzbekistan, Adalat, Xalq Democratic Partiyasi, Uzbekistan Xalq Democratic Partiyasi, Communist Partiyasidan adopt chiqqan keyingi partiya Social Democratic Party of Uzbekistan, Uzbekistan Sotsial Demokratik Partiyasi, Adalat, Ecological Movement Party, Ekologik Harakat Partiyasi. And furthermore, Unity and Freedom are both banned democratic parties. Birlik va erkinlik bular hozirda faoliyat to'xtatilgan partiyalar hisoblanadi. Executive powers. Cabinet of Ministers is a body of executive power of the Republic of Uzbekistan. Vazirlar Mahkamasi bu ijro qiluvchi, O'zbekiston Respublikasi qonunlarini ijro qiluvchi organ hisoblanadi that ensures the management of effective functioning of economic, social, spiritual spheres, the performance of laws of the Republic of Uzbekistan, resolutions of Oliy Majlis, decrees, the resolutions, orders of the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, O'zbekiston Respublikasi Prezidentining qaror farmonlari, nizomlari va Oliy Majlisni resolution, Oliy Majlisdagi ko'rib chiqqan masalalar, O'zbekiston Respublikasi qonunlarini performance namoyish qilishi, bajarilishi, ma'naviy, ijtimoiy va iqtisodiy sfera sohalardagi ish faoliyatlarini samaradorligini ko'rib chiqishni ta'minlab beradigan bu vazir mahkamasi hisoblanadi. Cabinet of Ministers vazir reports to the President. Vazir mahkamasi bu prezidentga hisobot beradi. Oliy Majlis. The Cabinet of Ministers has the right to initiate legislation. Demak, qonun ishlab chiqishni inisiativa tashabbuskorlik ko'rsatishda huquqi bor ekan. Qonunlarni ijro etishni. Judicial powers, demak, bu sud tizimi. Judicial power functions independently of legislative and executive powers, political parties, other public associations. Boshqa davlat assotsiatsiyalari, ijtimoiy partiyalar, siyosiy partiya, qonun chiqaruvchi, ijro etuvchi kuchlardan alohida hisoblanadi. Bu sud tizimi. The Republic of Uzbekistan judicial system contains the following courts: Constitutional Court, Supreme Court, Supreme Economic Court, Military Courts, and Office of the Prosecutor General. O'zbekistonda sud tizimini quyidagi Constitution va Konstitutsiyaviy sud, Oliy sud, Oliy iqtisodiy sud, Military Courts va harbiy, demak, bu oid sudlar, Office of the Prosecutor General va uning advokatlik sudlari, prokurorlik sudlari. This is the end of the presentation, and I hope that I tried to give a brief and clear understanding and explanation of the topic related to the political system of Great Britain and Uzbekistan. See you next time.